Adding databases to a REPL has just got a lot easier. We've added direct in-REPL support for PostgreSQL, which allows you to add a database to your REPL and connect to it in seconds. In this course, we're going to look at lots of things you can do with it, from setting it up and the basics of querying the databases to working with multi-table PostgreSQL databases, from working with multiple tables, nesting queries, and even moving to build your very own auditable Discord bot. Now, we all know that databases are a key component of the web, and transactional databases are really important in almost 90% of web apps. PostgreSQL gives you a serverless database component that you can bring into any REPL in any language. We're going to start by creating a simple REPL in any language. I'm going to pick Python so we can look at one of the most common use cases. And to bring in a PostgreSQL database is as simple as scrolling down the tools menu until you find the icon. Now, all the tools in the tools menu can be clicked or dragged. I'm going to drag it into a position where I'd like to see it, and we're presented with this beautiful screen. Each PostgreSQL database that you pick will be charged at 100 cycles a day, which is a bargain, I think. And to create one is as simple as clicking this button, agreeing to the cycles, and boom, your database is there. That's scary quick. You can manage your database from this tab, as well as have access to all the database environmental variables that you might want to use. However, before we start, it is worth saying that Postgres does use tables behind the scenes to store some information about it. So immediately you'll see that 27 megabytes of a 2 gigabyte allowance have been used, and this is perfectly normal. This is what Postgres needs to get up and running. If you click See Database Contents at this time, you'll see absolutely no tables. But this is where you can go to directly query the database. If for some reason you want to remove the database, it's very, very easy to do. You simply go to the bottom of the page, click Remove Database, and say yes. I'm not going to do that here because it wouldn't really be much of a tutorial if I didn't have the database running. You can access the documentation as well, the database environment variables, from the URL to create a direct connection to smaller atomic parts of information that you may need with older connection methods, but it's all there for you to use. However, I would recommend not copying it from there, because the moment you set up a database, you also get a bunch of environment secrets that are yours for the taking. If we have a look under the Secrets tab, you'll see that all of these pieces of data are already there for you to access. And it's a simple matter of inserting the secret you want to have direct access to it. That way, none of your database information needs to be stored in the code of the REPL, and your database itself will then be hidden from anyone looking at your source code or forking your REPL. Okay, let's get set up. I'm going to create my tables directly in the PostgreSQL Explorer. I'm going to click See Database Contents, and I get a box to type in my SQL commands. It's very, very easy, and it even has Ghostwriter turned on. This means for those of us that hate writing SQL or constantly have to look up simple things like the insert command every time we use it, it becomes much, much easier. Let's build a simple user table here. So I'm going to do the create command, and you'll see I'm using Ghostwriter here to build some simple suggestions into it. And I'll click run, and I get a success message. I can click show all contents now to see the tables that have been built. You'll see I've got two there, one for the users and one for the user ID sequence, which is exactly what I said in my schema. Let's move that around a little bit so we've got a bit more visibility. One of the great things about the new UI paradigm in Replit, of course, is that we can drag this and resize it anyway, which makes it much more flexible. And you'll see that my user table currently has no rows. Well, let's go and fix that. Back in the database contents, you'll see that my query is there. And what I can actually do is I can see the history of queries that I've performed on my databases and pin important ones. This means if you commonly use simple select queries, searches, insertions or deletes, you can pin those and have access to them regularly. This is a really, really powerful feature because when you're directly querying the database, often you're repeating the same functions. Let's pop in a few users and you'll see that once again, we're getting suggestions from Ghostwriter. And as soon as we've got one in, we can go back and explore that database table and we can see that everything has been added. This table viewer is really handy and really quick and easy for us to see any information we want. I can go and add some more users, and I can even run a select query directly in the PostgreSQL tab so I can see what's there. This is a really fully featured implementation, so you can directly query the database without having to write any actual code in the REPL itself. We can even use full search syntax and even use comparison symbols to identify ranges of data. It is this easy to have a working database attached to any REPL. Why don't you go and create your own database and set up your own users table? Don't forget to populate it with a few users, just so you've got it ready to go, and it would be well worth pinning the queries for both creating the user table and populating the user table. Remember, you can chain SQL queries together and run more than one at the same time by finishing each line with a semicolon. At the end of this task, you should have a database set up with the users table however you want it and storing user information exactly as you want it. You may want to go that extra mile and add salting and hashing to the password field, but as we're experimenting, that's not essential to continuing with this course. In the next lesson, we'll look at connecting the REPL itself up through code to the database and how to add data directly from the REPL itself.